Okay, today's lecture I want to talk to you guys about the idea of non-graphic data in our projects or in a Revit project. And when I'm talking about non-graphic data, I'm really talking about the I in BIM, right? The information that is on each one of these things. So if I select an object down here, let me zoom in to an object. If I select a door, all of this information here is really important. And so this is the kind of non-graphic data that appears. Without it selected, I know that that's a door and it's about however big. But if I really want to know more about the door, I can select it and I can find out some more information here, or I can also find other data in here. Here's the size related to that item and those kind of things. So this non-graphic data is stored in our projects, and that's what we want to talk about today, right? So, and the other place that it manifests, so the non-graphic data manifests itself when I select an object and I can see the properties, either the instance properties or the type properties. So that's one place. Another place that non-graphic data can manifest itself is actually in the tag itself, right? So this tag, it's saying it's door 111, and if I was to select the door, it also says it's door 111. So if I made a change here, 112, and it'll give me some type of error, but that's okay because it's numbered that same thing right there. So you see that the tag is really reading the value that's coming from the door. So tags are another way that we manifest non-graphic data, including like the room tag here that has the name and number, or if I was to switch this, you might see, we could get this to report out an area, so that's 7 meters or whatever. So, or this room, if I wanted, that probably will give us a little bit bigger size. So if I wanted to see the area, I could report that in a tag. So a tag is another way that we can manifest non-graphic data from the objects in our project into some way that it's kind of human readable, right? So properties palette, the tags, and then the last place that we can kind of manifest or see that information is actually in a schedule. So if I go to the schedule, and let me just tile up these views so we can see. So just like that. So get back over to the door that I was looking at. There we are. So here's the door schedule, and here's that door 111. So I see the sizes, and say I see the hardware group and I want to switch that, and we'll just call it 3, whatever that happens to be. So I switched it here in the schedule, but you see that it also highlights over here in the project. So I'm really just looking at another view, right? Here it's just the data, the non-graphic data, and here I'm seeing graphic data as well as some non-graphic data represented to me in the tag. And if I now select that door over here, now you'll see hardware group 3 is reflecting that change that I made there. And if I went in here and I changed that data when I'm working inside the plan view, I change it to 4, you see that it immediately changes in my schedule. So the schedule is really just another view, it's just a non-graphic view. So the challenge here for you guys as students most of the time is that really students, this kind of information is really more about constructability, right? It's more about scheduling and getting the information to contractors and sharing that information out to different interested parties in your project, but it's not necessarily related to what you guys do in school on a regular basis. In school, you're really learning how to design, exploring form, those kind of things, not really focused on kind of the constructability or rationalization of a project. So this information is, in a way, kind of useless to you as a student. But when I show some of these things in class, I'll show how you build some of this stuff and how this could maybe be used in some cases. But just know that most of the things here, I'm showing you because you need to know them when you go out and use Revit as a tool in an office where this kind of information is important. It is important to rationalize. It is important to schedule these things. So this information becomes more valuable, and you knowing how to use it is really a kind of critical skill that you should have, even though you may not find as much use for it while you're in school. Right? So, and it's one of these things also that as you are designing, if you understand kind of the logic of the information that's being imbued into these elements, it helps you to understand how the design logic can follow this construction logic, right? So if you understand the information that you're putting on an object or an element, and you understand how that relates to construction, it's going to help you become a better designer. And sometimes that's challenging when you don't know how that's done. But as you work more and more with Revit, those two things start to inform one another, right? So it is something that when you work on your projects, especially like your final projects for this class, you really should try to think about, well, really, how would this thing be constructed? Because and what item kind of makes sense in this position? Is it a structural wall? Is it not a structural wall? How thick is it? What are the materials? All of those things that are related to constructability also relate to design, and it helps you design better. So it helps you have an overall better product and understand how everything goes together. Right? So that's really, as we kind of, that's kind of the gist of this lesson. And when I come to class and show you things on how to work with schedules, you'll see a few things that you can use as a student. But understand that these kind of views are very important to construction and keeping track of elements within your project. And in many ways, this kind of tabular view of your project, or the schedule views of your project, in many ways becomes the really important stuff that is usable actually downstream, so other trades can pull out information. And having the more information that you have on objects, the better the process becomes. So I think that kind of sums up this lesson. It's not a very long one. There's more in class that we'll cover, but let's just go with that. So for the takeaways, just understand that the information is an important part of the project. The more that you understand about the information, the better your design will be, and the more informed your design will be, and your design decisions will be. And then the other thing, the other really key takeaway is that this view, the graphic floor plan view, is no different than the tabular view. So changes that I make here when I select an object are reflected over here because this is the same. It's a view of the project. And then the final thing that we'll take away is the tags themselves, whether it be a room tag, a door tag, a window tag, whatever element you're tagging, it's actually pulling information off of the object itself. The tag is not made up of text. The tag is made up of information. And also, if I eliminate an object, so if I get rid of that door, the tag also goes along with it. So these things are interrelated to one another. And so with that, I think we'll close out this lecture. Like I said, not very long one today. And we will see you next time. Thanks.